I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are two of the many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say, have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
So just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are that week.
Up, and away!
Tell me, though, what's his technique? That last strike, it seems invincible.
Hello and welcome to Sons of the Dragon, the Immortal Iron Fist podcast, featuring ambient background clattering noises. My name is Connor McKenna.
I'm Rebecca Hart.
And Karl Stubb.
And it's our 100. Yay!
Woohoo!
Hooray.
4 years in the making.
Yes, long time. So we only have 100 episodes, but we're probably older than a lot of podcasts you listen to. So, you know, that means we're better. It doesn't. But I'm happy we got here. This is great. And we've, kind of barely touched... I don't want to say barely touched the surface of Iron Fist, but man, we've covered, one old run, a couple of new runs, and we're still in Power Man and Iron Fist. So we haven't even gotten to, the really famous stuff. You know, so hundreds more episodes.
Hooray.
Yeah. Definitely. Fun times. So I said we would have something planned for this episode, and we do. So basically what we're going to do is, I told you guys to read Phantom Limb, because Mr. Clay Mcleod Chapman was very gracious to do an interview with me where we just chatted about Iron Fist of Phantom Limb and a couple of other things. You know, especially horror and all that sort of stuff. So that's some good stuff. So I'm going to play that soon, and then when we come back, we'll talk a bit about the interview, and then we're gonna, you know what, we figured, hey, we haven't gotten any requests or anything for 100, so we're just gonna do what we want, and we came up with some questions we wanted to ask each other and talk about on the air. So just be nice and relaxed. Yeah, fun times.
Yes.
And,
But next time, write in and tell us what to do. Haha.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll do a shout out. Thanks everyone for listening and keeping this podcast listened
That's
to.
true.
You know, we know you're there. Even if you are silent, we know you're there. We do appreciate you listening. We hope you enjoy all our opinions, all our different opinions on Iron Fist and stuff. A special shout out to the collective as well. For the constant retweets and likes and stuff. You know, check out the other podcasts in the collective as well. There's a bunch of good ones there, mostly character-based. My Superman one's on there, and I'm also going to start co-hosting 3 weeks out of 4 on Signal of Doom, if you want to check out that as well. And, yeah. Also, big thanks to Carla Torres. I really hope I pronounced your last name right. He runs the Iron Fist page on Facebook. I've been an admin on there for years, and he's let me share every single episode on that Facebook page, which has definitely helped a lot. So, you know, big shout out to him. He's a big Iron Fist fan. Yay. And thanks to Omar as well, our new guy on the page, keeps the page very active with all sorts of cool Iron Fist stuff. So big thanks to you as well, Omar. But
Thank you, Omar.
Yeah, he's down in the Philippines. He meets actually a lot of artists. I'm surprised.
Yeah, crazy. And he met Finn and Jessica as well. So
Gave him a T-shirt.
yeah.
He gave Iron Fist an Iron Fist T-shirt.
Which is pretty awesome. You think it'd be the other way around, but and also
Poor Finn hasn't had a job since.
Wow, I want to do a big thanks as well to Karl and Rebecca, my co-hosts.
Screw you.
Yes, big thanks to Rebecca.
Australian.
Yeah, thanks to Rebecca. Karl, yours is rescinded.
Yeah. I would like to thank England for sending all their criminals to Australia, because without that, we wouldn't have Connor.
Yeah, well, I would be here.
Well,
It'd just be a
there
lot.
were other people there. It wasn't just England, but we do,
Yeah, I'd probably have like an Irish accent.
Yeah.
But no, thanks, guys.
No one I've sent that podcast to thinks you're Australian, which I think is hysterical.
Wow. Yeah, you guys are making it so easy to thank you. It's great.
When you say you guys, not me.
No, by guys I mean plural. And no, Rebecca, you're being fine, but
Thank you.
Carl thinks
I'm
he's
a wanker.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you, Connor, for putting up with us.
Yes, that's fine, and thank you guys for filling in and everything when I haven't been able to record as well. That's helped a lot, and it's always been fun to talk to you guys most of the time.
I would like to thank Connor for cutting together this hot mess, because I have no clue how any of that works.
Yeah, that's true, for sure.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a pain, but actually this podcast is pretty easy, because on the other podcasts I do, the Superman one, I put music in that one. So now I've appreciated how easy this podcast is to do. Because I just sort of have to listen to it and then bang, it's done. I just have to edit out any, clacking or...
Sorry.
I could have been talking about Karl,
I just sip coffee really loud.
You stopped doing that. Which kind of makes me sad, because I can't make fun of you for it anymore. So, But, us three crazy kids, we've got plenty more Iron Fist to talk about. But in the meantime, if you haven't yet, pick up your copies of Phantom Limb, give them a read, and listen to this interview. So, settle back, get a beverage or something, and enjoy this interview. Hi, it's Connor here, as you will hopefully know, and I'm here with Mr. Clay Chapman, author of Iron Fist the Phantom Limb. Hey. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for joining us. Joining me.
Anytime.
But yeah, I was definitely very curious to talk to you, because out of all the stories of Iron Fist I've read, yours I definitely found one of the most interesting, because it aligns with a lot of my interests in terms of the horror aspects and stuff, and it's not something I thought I would see Iron Fist dabbling in, so it was a really pleasant surprise.
That's great. I mean, so then maybe I should ask you, with your kind of encyclopedic knowledge of Iron Fist, has he ever faced against has he ever kind of delved into horror, or is that just something that has always kind of he's steered clear of?
There's been horror elements. I don't think there's ever been like full-on horror stories, but there's definitely been elements of horror in some of his stories.
Just from what I've gathered, I feel like there have been oodles of terrifying combatants that he's fought against.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was just a matter of how do you top that? And it just seemed quite an impossible feat. But yeah.
Well, you have a guy he fought recently called the Rat of 12 Plagues, and
yes.
So, you're familiar with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, horrifying, disgusting. I loved
He's
it.
gross. He's really gross.
Yeah.
But he was a great new villain. Forces him to use his healing powers, just pestilence essentially. So, actually, I do have a question pertaining to the villain you used in Phantom Limb. But so I'm not grilling you. Don't worry. I just have you read Iron Fist: Living Weapon by Kerry Andrews?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
and you're recommending it to me.
Yes. Also, but King Yama and Diyu appear in that story. So
Get out.
Yeah, no. When I read Phantom Limb and they both appeared, my brain was like, "Hang on."
Really? That's
Yeah,
amazing. Totally by accident. How was he covered in that one? You have to tell me.
It was different.
Yeah.
It was less gory. It was very sort of done Sin City style. Everything was in black and white, so everything was super stylized. King Yama looked like a super buff Raiden from Mortal Kombat. It was a really crazy story. In fact, it's the only Iron Fist story that's crazier than yours. So,
really? You just drew a line in the sand on that one.
Yeah, it's crazy in a different way. Like that's just one issue out of 12 when they appear, but I would definitely recommend reading that. From what I've seen of your work and taste, I think you would enjoy it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's such a small world. That's amazing. So was he the chief baddie in that one, or?
No. He goes down there for one issue to essentially, fight his way through it for reasons and come to some self-realizations. He's not really trapped there. He goes down there and starts beating everyone up. So, yeah.
As you do.
With giant robot hand things.
That's a trip.
Yeah, no, I was, that was like a major, that's the only thing that really confused me when I read your Phantom Limb run, was like, because the thing with Iron Fist is because you have so many different writers, you try and piece it all together. Like, when does this take place?
Yeah.
Etc. And, yeah.
Is it in the canon or in the continuity? It's funny because I think I need to kind of admit this and come clean up front and say that this was the first time I've ever written for Iron Fist. I didn't necessarily ever kind of imagine that I would write for Iron Fist, but my relationship with Marvel, which has been pretty amazing thus far, it's always been this notion of kind of like, what is it that if I'm fortunate enough to be invited to write for a particular character, whether that's Iron Fist or Typhoid Mary or Carnage or Venom, Spider-Man, like, what is it that the editor who's kind of making the invitation is kind of wanting of my personal sensibilities to bring to the table? And it tends to be something a little more grotesque, a little more horrifying, kind of leaning into the genre elements. And it's always a kind of exciting challenge, because not only do I have to kind of take the time to kind of learn about the character, but also think in terms of like what the horror genre brings specifically out of that character. Like what is it? And so, I don't know if it's leaping ahead here, but I really kind of thought to when considering Iron Fist, like I wanted to kind of focus specifically on the kind of his hands, and I took it rather literally up front, but right out of the gates, one of the first things that came to my mind was Evil Dead 2, which kind of shows where my mind goes in these kind of scenarios. But I don't know if you've seen Evil Dead 2, but there's that scene, the phenomenal scene with him combating against his own hand. His hand is now possessed. And it seems so kind of such a trivial notion up front, but like, there's such a kind of nobility to Iron Fist and Danny when it comes to his powers that I really wanted to kind of explore and kind of ask the question of like who is Danny without his fists, and what is it that, where does that power lie? Where does his chi kind of manifest itself? And maybe it was a little cheeky, but kind of thinking, kind of paralleling it to Ash from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And kind of spinning this particular yarn out from that notion of like, if someone were to kind of take his iron fists and use them against him, like what would that be like? And that's kind of the basic kind of initial premise for Phantom Limb.
So that actually, it ties in to a question I have from one of my co-hosts, Rebecca.
Oh, yeah?
I'll just jump to that now since it's kind of related. So speaking of Danny's hand, I'll ask this question first. Were you planning to get rid of it permanently, or did you always plan to have it grown back?
I assumed that it would grow back. I can't imagine they would let me get away with it being gone for good forever. But I mean, to me, it was just this idea of like, putting him through hell and back. And I don't know. Danny to me seems like someone who can kind of take it. Like he's, that you can kind of put him through the grinder, but he more than most heroes tends to kind of come out a bit more educated or a bit more kind of learned. And I just kind of appreciate that about him. Yeah. But maybe it's more my sadism that's coming off here, but it struck me that if you want him to kind of come out the other end, you really have to put him through the ringer more than most, than say Peter Parker or Spider-Man. Like there's something so specific and particular about Danny where he almost has to be punished more. And it's a very strange thing to admit and say, but like, I don't know if it's a martyr complex, but like, I do feel as if he has this kind of innate quality of like needing to kind of take on the sins of himself or of others and kind of process them and put them through. Is that a Christ complex? I don't know, but like it felt like there's something so particular about him where you had to make him suffer. You had to put him through the ordeal.
Yeah.
And that, at the end of the day, I did see that hand coming back, somehow, whether that was through kind of manifesting it physically, tangibly, or sewing it back on, but that there would be a way. Yeah.
No, you're right about that, because if you look at Iron Fist Origins, it's pretty hardcore. He saw his dad pushed off a cliff, his mother got devoured by wolves, and then when he's 10 years old, he's stuck in a city full of these crazy warrior monks, and he has to fight to the top of the food chain and then fight a dragon with his bare hands. So I think, he needs to be put through the ringer if you want to test him.
Yeah. I don't know, like it's something oddly innate about the character where like he has to suffer. And it is, I don't know, all of the greats kind of have that kind of innate endurance within them, but but I feel like it's something slightly kind of exceptional to Danny.
Yeah, no, I agree. His whole power set is all about training, physical stuff, mental discipline and stuff. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of led into the question Rebecca asked: did Marvel editorial make you change anything when you submitted the script?
Surprisingly not. This was a strange one because as it was kind of laid out to me up front, it was a kind of a partnership with Marvel and Comixology.
Okay.
They were going to be digital firsts, so that they would end up online at Comixology before they made their way into print. And they did this, I think, in tandem to the Netflix series. So there was a Jessica Jones one, there was a Luke Cage one. I think maybe there was another one. There was maybe one more that I'm kind of not remembering at the
Daughters
moment.
of the Dragon.
Yes, that's it. And it was, I don't know who had ultimately what say, but it was editorial at Marvel was pretty. I don't want to say hands off, no pun intended, but it was definitely like they were pretty open minded to whatever I threw their way. Which is crazy. Like, I don't know how they let me get away with what we got away with. And I take that back. Now that I'm remembering it, there were some images of some of the tortures going on down below in hell that were a little bit too much. Might have been like a naked body here and there, but it was the more kind of graphic tortures that were happening in the underworld. They had to be conveniently covered.
Okay.
But beyond that, I blame Guillermo on that one. It's one thing for me to write it, but he drew it, and he went to town, and I love it. I can't, there was definitely moments of like looking at his work and just being like, oh my God, I can't believe that they're letting us get away with it. And yet they did.
Yeah. I'll come back to Guillermo a few times, because there's a few moments where I'm in the book where I wondered if that was more you or him. So I guess I'll go through that when I get up to it, because the interview's kind of back to front now since we're on the topic of some of our listener questions. So I'll go through Omar's, because we're sort of talking about it now. So his first question was, how did you get the assignment for working on an Iron Fist story?
I lay all the blame at my editor's feet, Devin Lewis, who I love because he's given me more opportunities to write these crazy stories for characters who I never imagined I'd write for. Devin just reached out of the blue. He had this kind of opportunity presented to him from Marvel Central, and I think it was one of those things where it does kind of boil down to like, if there's going to be a certain, I don't know if it was him being like, oh, this needs to be a horror comic or not, but I do think that, like, if you come to me, the one thing I can say about myself is that it'll be dark. It's just gonna be dark.
Yeah.
But Devin, it was all Devin. I always say, like, I'm always excited to kind of take the challenge and go for broke. And he picked up the phone, and I took the call.
Cool.
Yeah.
And his second question was, what do you think of the digital first platform?
It's interesting. I will kind of testify to being a more, tactile, tangible reader myself. I just love to have the comic in my hand. I want to hold it. I want to keep it. I love the kind of flipping from one page to the next. So it's odd to me to read on my Kindle or my iPad or on the phone. It's just not the way that my brain kind of processes information. So maybe I'm just feeling old school, kind of like a dinosaur. But I do feel like it was interesting for Comixology to say, like, hey, let's partner up, let's do this. However people want to read, it is, far be it from me to say how they need to read it. Like, I am all for people reading on their iPads or on their phones or computers, if that's the way that they come to this material. doesn't matter to me what the vehicle is, as long as the story gets from A to B, gets from my hand to your brain. Like, I am all for it. And it was exciting to know that that eventually later down the road, the comic would end up in some sort of kind of print format. So it was, usually these days, I guess they do both at the same time, but this was just kind of putting one before the other just by a staggered step. But ultimately it's the same.
Cool. And I guess this one's from me a bit as well. Do you see comics going completely digital in the future?
Do I see it? I hope not. I mean, I feel like, as I'm talking to you, I'm like in my room surrounded by books and comic books. And I just, maybe, it's we're living in strange times, my friend, where, paper gets kind of, maybe a little bit more limited in its resource. I wouldn't put it past us in the future, but I would feel a bit bummed. I hope we still have print.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll still have the fancy, omnibuses and stuff.
Yeah.
So, going back to the start, so just tell us about your experience with Iron Fists. What was like your first exposure to him, I guess? Do you have any favorite stories or...
Well, it's funny that you mention the Plagues character. Like, I love, when Devin kind of suggested that this would be an opportunity, I was like, give me anything that feels that I should read. And they kind of send comics my way. And I got to read a few up front, and it was a lot of fun. To me, I just wanted to kind of get educated. I did want to steer clear of the Netflix series just for a little bit, just because I had watched, God, I guess I want to get my timing right on this, but the first season had come out, and the second season was en route, if not kind of coming out right around the same time. And, I wanted to, I didn't want the TV series to kind of influence the story too much. So it was just a matter of kind of threading the needle. But again, it was almost kind of feeling like we were left alone to kind of write and tell the story that we wanted to, Guillermo and I wanted to tell. And, I can hardly imagine Netflix or I guess Disney Plus now wanting to adapt Phantom Limb into a TV series or movie or anything like that. But I guess never say never. But it did feel like we were kind of playing in a sandbox all to ourselves, with these toys that had been left behind by the previous group of kids who had played with them, and we just kind of tore them to pieces.
So, sorry, they gave you a bunch of Iron Fist comics?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to look and see if I can find which ones they sent my way.
To keep them?
Well, they were all digital. Damn it.
Okay. Yeah.
You know how it is. Where were they? I'm not going to be able to find them as we talk. I'm gonna.
That's okay.
But it was kind of like, Devin would be like, here, read these comics and, pitch some ideas, after you've read these. And, so I read a few, got back to Devin and said, has anyone ever taken Iron Fist's hands off? And Devin was like, I don't think anybody has. And I was like, can I do that? And he said, hold on 1 second, let me ask. And then he got back to me and he was like, yeah, go ahead. And that was kind of the initial volley of conversation between us.
All right, cool.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. As you said, it's weird that Marvel would just publish this complete horror story that doesn't really tie to the Netflix show or anything, but it's cool. I
Yeah,
like new
yeah.
things.
I'm curious, having, have you read any of the other kind of digital firsts that came out, the Jessica Jones or the Luke Cage or the, I wonder, I can't imagine any of them kind of tying directly to or even paralleling to the TV series. I know we go way, way off the beaten path, but I'm just curious if like any of them kind of adhered to the Netflix path.
Honestly, I can't answer that because I haven't read any of them, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me because I guess a lot of comic books do try to be like the live action versions now.
Yeah.
So
It just seemed like such a fun, I mean, I don't want to make too fine of a point on it, but like, having a character like Iron Fist, it just seemed like such a ripe opportunity to like get really, really messy and dirty. Like I love the fights with him where you could just see him, like just the kind of I don't want to talk specifically about the brutality of his fights, but like there's something to be said about like there's something so raw about like hand-to-hand combat, and it just seemed, I didn't want it to be clean. I didn't want it to be like I wanted there to be a lack of precision to it. Like even if there's an art to the kind of the fight moves themselves, like it seems as if the most kind of profound battles are those where things get a little messy, that they're a little pulpy and palpable and wet, and those battles to me seem more effective, or they resonate a little bit more than say when it's a fight move that's so kind of clean and precise that like you can see, you almost hear the wind kind of like whoosh by and then clocked, and then it's done, I don't know, like it's nice when the costume gets a little torn and you see the scrape and the kind of bruise, but also the kind of I don't know, I just wanted it to get pulpy.
Yeah. I mean,
a bruised orange.
All the best martial arts fight scenes and comic book fights, they all get really torn and bloody. Iron Fist costume used to get wrecked on an issue by issue basis, so because he was always getting into these big scraps. Yeah.
Oh man, the dry cleaning alone. Tell me somebody has done an issue where it's just Iron Fist kind of like talking about sewing his own costume, or kind of like having to like go back and put together a whole like closet full of these costumes or uniforms.
They haven't done it with Iron Fist, and there is a interesting reason behind that if you want to hear it.
Yeah, please.
Symbiotes. So
there you go.
And I'm not joking, actually. John Byrne wanted to make Iron Fist suit a symbiote, and this is before symbiotes existed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think John Byrne's quite cranky about the fact that he's not credited for the symbiote suit creation. But yeah, originally Iron Fist's costume was supposed to sort of be a living thing that repairs itself, because he didn't like the idea of this martial arts master just sewing his uniform back after every single fight. But
that's amazing.
It's not a symbiote, and as it stands, there's no real explanation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, he's now. I saw that he's kind of a part of the Absolute Carnage storyline. Like, is he? I'd be curious if there's any dovetailing into that there.
Well, he wasn't in the first issue of the one he was on the cover for.
Okay.
So I'm not sure yet. I don't know if he's popped up yet, actually, because I...
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
It's Lethal Protectors, right? If that's the...
Yeah.
Is that the name? Yeah.
I know he's popping up at some point. I think there was a preview, and he was in it, but yeah, I doubt they'll go that way, but I would love if they did do a nod or something to that. Because,
we can dream.
Yeah. So, we've kind of talked about this. You mentioned you were worried about fan reactions to your story. Why is that?
I mean, I feel as if, a lot of characters are held in very, very high regard. And I feel like when you kind of drag, a character into an arena that may be a little bit outside of their kind of chosen realm, it could be considered profane, essentially, particularly if it's with a writer, an artist that this may not be their wheelhouse. And I want to see what I can bring to the character, rather than drag the character down into the gutter with me. So, you always hope for that kind of magical alchemy where it's like the combination of the character and the creators or the writers, can make something more than both of themselves or, independently of one another. And it somehow elevates the story. But I do feel like I was aware that, Iron Fist fans are very, they
Crazy.
They hold him in high regard. I'm not going to say crazy.
I'll say crazy.
But I mean, like, it's, maybe it's coming from the reaction of the Netflix series, which maybe didn't necessarily do the best job of kind of putting Danny and Iron Fist out there. I don't know. Like, I'm always a bit sheepish because I don't want to come off as disrespectful to these characters, but I do want to kind of drag these characters out of that kind of realm of comfortability, do a little something different. I always have this kind of, and this goes for every kind of Marvel storyline that I've had an opportunity to write in, where like I always feel like an outsider looking into these characters. So and I hope that's a strong suit, that brings something different or fresh to the table. And with Iron Fist, we went really out there, and I feel really excited and really happy with what we were able to do with this story. But I can understand and appreciate how that might not be for every Iron Fist fan. And to them, I apologize. But I do think it was, we were a little bit off the beaten path with Danny.
Yeah. I find comic fans don't like, out of comfort zone.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
You have,
and it's hard. I mean,
yeah.
I get it. But not that we needed to, do something new strictly for novelty's sake, but we just wanted to do something that felt, I keep wanting to say fresh, but it was just like trying to pose a new problem for Danny.
Yeah.
And I don't know how new it is ultimately. I mean, I'm sure he's he's always kind of posed with this question of like, the kind of largeress of what it is to have these powers and, the kind of responsibility of this of having taken this chi. I wanted to be respectful of that, but I wanted to give him a fresh test, put it to, put the pedal to the metal, I guess.
Yeah. I hope you like compliments because I was a big fan of this arc. So
yeah, that's great.
I,
Thank you for talking to me afterwards.
No, it's fine. I really enjoyed it. I think I felt like it didn't stray from Iron Fist too much. Like it wasn't like Iron Fist was just dropped into this different thing because all the demons and the horror that was tied to Chinese mythology and stuff that had been encountered before as well.
Yeah.
So, but from what I see, any negative reception, I haven't seen any strong negative reception, but people just aren't horror fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the worst of it, and I feel like we're very fortunate because of this, but there's that moment of it's not for me. Horror's not my thing.
Yeah.
I totally get it. It's not going to be for everybody. But as soon as the lights go down, the screen is filled with, spooky demons, you'll know it's either for you or it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people would have been clued in the first installment feels fun or not.
Yeah. We draw the line in the sand pretty quickly.
So, let's see here. Now, I guess this is a big one. What literature / comics / movies were your big influences for Phantom Limb? I did read at the end of the collection that Evil Dead 2 and Never Ending Story were big influences. What were some other ones?
Let's see. Other than that, I mean, I really wanted to kind of read up on Chinese mythology, looking at the underworld and their kind of, for me, it was really those two, the films that you mentioned, Never Ending Story and Evil Dead 2. But I wanted, I wanted to kind of do the kind of Joseph Campbell kind of hero's journey of talking about these archetypes and putting them through the kind of the motions of a trip. And I mean, even, I don't want to get too Lord of the Rings here, but like, I think that the friendship between Luke and Danny is always an interesting one. And how you kind of can put their friendship to the test. I don't know. It's always amazing to think in terms of the kind of the archetypes, and how you can kind of subsequently ground them. Like think in terms of the big, but then root it into something more emotional, more intimate, more personal. So, and I think that's what Marvel characters all across the board really offers, this idea of something that is larger than life, but grounded in a emotional reality.
Yeah. That was actually a surprise moment for me, Luke Cage showing up, because usually Luke Cage showing up wouldn't be surprising in an Iron Fist story, but the fact that it was such a crazy horror ride, and then it was weird to see Luke Cage all these demons. It was good, weird, but it was a good moment when he turns up. And gets possessed. That was funny.
Yeah, had to be done. I mean, the lesson that I've learned with Marvel is that there's such a stable of characters to play with, and where, regardless of who the story belongs to or whose name is on the front cover, like, there's always the kind of encouragement to kind of like explore other characters and see how they can kind of come into the story as well. Yeah.
Was there anyone else you were thinking of bringing in, or was it always just going to be Luke?
I think it was always going to be Luke. I just like the idea of the two buddies, the heroes for hire, like, but kind of doing the reverse of that, which I know has been done before, of them kind of having their tussles and their moments. But I really, I don't know if this is new territory, but it was like, oh, can we crank that up to 11? Like, how brutal can their tussles get?
Yeah, I haven't seen Luke possessed like that before. So,
yeah, he looks pretty gnarly.
Yeah, he does, and it's a perfect vessel as well. It's pretty much indestructible. So, this is stuff I sort of think I saw in there as influences. Just tell me if I'm right or not. So, about the Omen.
Oh, come on, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, yes.
The Exorcist.
I mean, yeah, in a less overt way. I mean, I think if you're dealing with possessions, like, it's,
I saw a line in the comic that I thought was like straight from the movie. I was just wondering if that was deliberate.
Oh, what's the line?
When Iron Fist is like, "Damn it, take me,
take me, come
to
me." Totally.
I expected him to jump out of a window after that.
Yeah. This is something I only do for comics, and sometimes I even forget I do it. But there have to be like little genre Easter eggs, because I just think it's fun. I always play. I shamelessly lean into my influences because it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Cool. And was. The Thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The Thing is there's just no way.
So
John Carpenter, like, he has to. I bow down to that altar.
as soon as I saw that first transformation, I immediately thought of The Thing.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's a kind of happy accident where, like, Guillermo really leaned into it. Like,
Okay.
his work, just, like, it's perfect for that type of homage.
I was wondering, like, there's a lot of, there's like in terms of visual designs, because the visual designs are very distinct in this. Was that more you or Guillermo?
I think ultimately I'll give him the most credit. I think in the writing of it, I spoke specifically more to kind of like segmentation, like this idea of multiple knuckles or bones kind of contorting, you know, like I wanted to kind of lay down the general gist of it without kind of overstepping. Like fingers would bend backwards, or there would be an extra knuckle, or this bone would go that way or go this way. But ultimately, it was kind of providing a kind of not even a foundation, but just a schematic for him to really kind of put meat on the bones. Because looking at his earlier work with like Bullseye, and you know, I didn't want to get in the way. Like whatever was in his head, I thought was going to be far superior to whatever I could suggest.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the better collaborations where, like, I think I prefer to kind of pull back in terms of what I say needs to go on the page versus letting the artist when that kind of, when you know you're working with an artist who really kind of has that kind of exceptional kind of mastery of just, you know, mutation or just kind of, you know, I just wanted him to do what he does so well.
Cool.
Yeah,
because I figured it must be like some sort of collaboration since you're both pretty into horror, but those designs got super crazy.
Yeah.
And The Hand. Have you ever heard of that movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
was that?
There's so many. Like, I mean, there's the Oliver Stone.
Yeah, that one.
Michael Caine one. Beast with Five Fingers. I mean, like, there's like you know, I don't want to go crass and say like what The Thing from Addams Family, but I do think that like having a severed hand kind of running rampant and like, you know, it's I boned up on my Killer Hand movies before diving in. Any excuse I get to watch these movies over and over again, I'll take it.
Totally. So I'm just combing, because I remember when we were initially covering this, we like had lists of movies that we thought were referenced. Like, one of my other co-hosts were like big horror fans, so okay. What's this? I don't even know what this is. The Hidden.
The Hidden. Whoa, that's amazing. Yeah, sci-fi cops and robbers, but the robbers are aliens that crawl out of your mouth.
Was that?
Oh, I love that movie. Gosh, I don't even know if that I could kind of chalk that up to an influence, but I love it.
Okay,
I
cool.
Totally love it.
Yeah, because that wasn't me who spotted that.
Yeah. There's like when it like barfs out. Oh my god, that's an amazing movie.
Like a subconscious influence, maybe.
Yeah, we're stealing all the time.
Yeah. Well, not stealing. Homage. There's a line between stealing and homage. You know, this is clearly homage because the plot didn't rely on, you know,
on barfing alien bugs. Yeah.
So I have some questions about the story itself.
Okay.
If you remember, because I reread this yesterday. Obviously, this has been like nearly a year since I've read it. So I just want to say first off, I love when Danny's hand was using kung fu techniques on himself. That was really fun. Now, I'm guessing. So, is there a reason he used his white suit instead of his current outfit, or
what was
is that just kind of what you associated?
I I can't lay claim to have making that decision. That
Really?
might have been an editorial one.
Wow.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I am going to plead the fifth, maybe. I'm going to actually say I'm completely naive about it.
Okay.
But it was. I don't think I made the distinction in the script, but I do think that at a certain point it was said from up high he has to be. Let's put him in this suit.
Okay. Maybe they wanted it set in the past.
Probably.
Yeah, that's interesting because that was like one of the big things that we were scratching our heads over. Like, what does this mean? And you don't even have the answers. Okay, so, and I don't know if you remember the ending. It ended with a shot of Danny staring into the bathroom mirror.
Yes.
And then there was the mirror in hell. So what did that mean? I think I'm too dumb to get that.
Well, if we're talking about influences, there's this other great movie by John Carpenter called Prince of Darkness.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, and there's always this kind of focus on mirrors and like the kind of portal to the the underworld / hell being through mirrors, and always on as we look, as we stare into the abyss, what's staring back. And for me, I wanted to kind of the kind of lasting image to be this notion of, as Danny kind of picks himself up and dusts himself off and tries to kind of like get back onto his feet again and, recoup. I always wanted this notion of like him being aware of the darkness that is within him. So, and now that he's kind of overtly tapped into it, that it is something that he's probably even more aware of. And does it go away? Is it always there? How close to the surface, is it for him? Is it just beneath the skin? Is it a little bit closer? And the mirror, the kind of reverse image of that is that like, I just wanted to see him kind of posing the question for himself of like, it's always, it's something that he was so, it was there and he was dealing with it, and then he kind of squelched it or kind of suppressed it, but like it's never going to go away, and it's always there, looking back at him, staring back at him in the mirror. That's another reference. Oh my God, I'm totally remembering this now. This year I'm going to lose all street cred by saying this, but Michael Jackson's "Man in the Mirror." I was so obsessed with those lyrics as I was writing this. It was I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change. Like just all these kind of bizarre pop cultural references that hopefully no one will ever realize because there's too many and it's such a stew. But I think that like this idea of like, if we look at ourselves, like what is staring back, and what if that thing is staring back is a little bit darker than we at first kind of realize.
Okay, so I'm actually curious. Did you write this? Like, do you write in general while listening to music, and does that shape what you write?
Occasionally. I didn't for this. Believe me, I wasn't listening to Michael Jackson "Man in the Mirror" like over and over again while writing this. I think that would make for an entirely different experience. But I do it less now than I used to be honest. Just because I have certain go-tos, I've had certain go-tos to listen to, but it has to be music that has no lyrics, something that kind of like puts me in a somnambulistic trance state of not even being kind of aware of the music, but it has a propulsive kind of rhythm or beat that paves the way for maybe tapping into the zone a little bit quicker.
Okay. Would you recommend people listen to "Man in the Mirror" while reading this story?
Not at all. Never, ever, ever. Actually, erase that from your brains, people. Like that is as close to Michael Jackson as I'm ever going to get. I'm asking the listeners, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change.
Wow. So, this wasn't on my original question, but this is a topic that interests me in terms of music. Do you recommend listening to music with any of your works or anything? Or
ooh, wow, that's an interesting question. I've never thought about that. I mean, it's funny. Like, there's certain people that I listen to, and I write Meredith Monk. I think it's Hans Zimmer's. Is it Hans Zimmer? Who wrote the soundtrack to Thin Red Line? Now I have to look it up.
Zimmer.
It was.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
It's such an amazing soundtrack. That is something that I can write to all the time. But reading, I don't know. I don't know if I want to kind of step in the way.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of has a very kind of personal routine when it comes to reading that I don't want to overstep.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So this is probably the biggest question for me in terms of like the story. So at the end, the palm reader reads Danny's palm, and then she gets all scared and she's like, "Oh, get out!" Pretty much. What did you see?
I mean, that kind of goes back to the mirror.
Oh, really?
The last page. I mean, maybe there's just something there that's a little bit dark. Maybe the dark tea is not gone. Maybe there's still just a lingering bit or more.
Okay.
I'm just opening myself up to a potential sequel. No, I'm joking. They would never let us come back. Are you kidding? We're done. One and done.
Wow. Well, it's honesty at least.
Well, I would not. We haven't been invited. I'll say that much. But if the offer was ever there, like, I wouldn't mind getting my hands dirty with Iron Fist again.
I mean, there's no.
If the fans would have me back.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure. You know, even if like we just want Iron Fist. We don't have any Iron Fist titles. I would definitely have you back. There's just no Iron Fist titles at all. So,
and yet there's such a devoted, like, there's a fan base. Like, he's got his advocates.
Yeah, he does. Not, I mean, but he's obviously a B-lister. I think he's like towards the lower end of B-listers because, like, you know, Moon Knight and stuff, they're a lot bigger than Iron Fist, and they're also B-listers, you know. So, but we'll wait. We've been through a lot. So, now, speaking of like Danny's shadow image and stuff, like his darkest self, like what is Danny's darkest self? Was that like rage and pride? Is that what you were?
Oh, wow. I would say, I mean, in the comic, it's inferred that it's kind of hubris or vanity. It's, but I think these are things that Danny has kind of spent his life, coming to grips with. And, and I like that idea of trying to strip him away of these things, something that he himself has kind of, strived to achieve. And I just wanted to, if there were someone else kind of poking a finger at that raw nerve, what would be the reaction to it? So, yeah.
Yeah. So this is more of a comment than a question, I guess, but I love how Danny was insulted a lot in the comic for being a thief.
Yeah.
And stuff, but, you look at Danny's history and he took it all through strength.
Yeah.
And I think that played a bit into said hubris as well. And I don't know, I really liked that aspect of the story.
Yeah, I wanted to, I feel like it's not a matter of I wanted to pose the question. I don't know if I answer it, and it's just something that he's always, it's kind of like his moral crux. Like he will always be kind of faced with this kind of question. And I just appreciated that like it's, you know, it's not something that'll ever go away for him. And he has to confront it and face it and own up to it and you know, process it and kind of come out the other end.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did kind of talk about this, but do you think there's... So you've already answered that you would work on Iron Fist again. And you've kind of already answered, like, I guess if there's any chance, can you see it happening, them asking you back, or...
I mean...
Because you're doing stuff now.
Yeah. You know, it's great to be, you know, I'm doing the new Carnage, Scream Curse of Carnage series. And, you know, there hasn't been a discussion of it yet. And I think if the comic had done like gangbusters on Comixology, it would be a whole different conversation. But I think it was, you know, you know, I'm not waiting for the phone call, but if it came my way, I would take it.
And what would you do next time? Would you... You know, do you have any ideas? Would you like make a sequel to this? Would you do something different? Would it still be horror?
I don't know. If it was me, it would have to be horror on some level. But I don't know what that would necessarily be, at least off the top of my head. Yeah. I've already taken away his hands, so I couldn't do that again.
Take away his legs?
Yeah. We'll see.
Right. So just move on to the rest of the questions from our listeners. Actually, I have a quick one. Have you exposed yourself to any reception to Phantom Limb? Did you read like comments and stuff or reviews, or have you just sort of stayed away?
I can't. I am.
Yeah?
I read it all. Like I'm weak. Like I cannot. I know that like writers and artists of stronger, sterner stuff just turn that stuff off, but. If it's out there, I have to know, for better or for worse, positive, negative, or otherwise. Like I want to expose myself to it, and you know, at best, maybe there's something to be learned from it, and that'll help kind of the next thing I work on. Okay. At worst, it's just like purely like, you know, just navel gazy kind of like curiosity of like, what are people saying about that stuff? So. You know, it's I feel like I do okay. You know, there's some positive, there's some negative, there's some kind of meh in the middle. But for me, it's always like if you're eliciting a response, better to go for the strong response, whether that's good or bad. Like I would, you know, I would rather be someone's favorite or absolute worst favorite, least favorite. You know. But it's when you're in the middle that it's always just like, oh, it's the apathy that's the worst.
Okay. So did you read anything that like upset you, or are you happy with the response that it got, or?
It's been a while since I've looked at the responses, but you know, I think for the most part you were right. Like it was like if people didn't get into it, it was because it was more genre-y than they were hoping for. But, I mean, you can kind of glean pretty quick in a review if there are people be like, oh, this is crap, I hate it. And you're just like, well, okay, that's your opinion. But if it was, I don't know if there was any response that like kind of cut a little too close to the bone for me.
Okay.
At least not one that's coming to mind immediately. Yeah. But I hope I didn't ruin Iron Fist for anybody.
No,
that would be a heartbreaker.
I think, as you said, like it's just the negative response I've seen, and I've seen positive too. Like there's been no overwhelming negative response. It's just it's not their thing. Like I haven't seen any strong negative opinions or anything. So. You know, if you want that, look at the TV show reception. There's some, that was a nightmare for Iron Fist fans. Not like I liked the first season of the TV show, but the fan base was all up in arms against each other and stuff, and it just wasn't fun.
You can't please everybody, I guess.
So, this question's from Karl. my co-host, the other horror fan, and he's wondering if you think Danny should dive deep into the mystic realm and leave other heroes to punch things. You know, could you see Danny covering for Stephen Strange if the Doc needed a holiday?
I think it would be a welcome, kind of change. I think, yes, mix things up a little bit. I think at this point, we're kind of well aware of what Danny can do. It'd be interesting to see what Danny could do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love if they went more magic and mystical with Danny.
Yeah. It's there in him. It's kind of like just all around the periphery.
Yeah. And so here was his other question. So did the artist tell you he was, I don't know if you remember these, but did the artist tell you he was putting the hand on the bed sheet and the running girl meme, or did he just slide them in and see who noticed?
What?
Okay,
Say this again.
Okay, so basically he's asking, there's a bit in the first issue where Danny and his one-night stand are lying in bed.
Yeah.
And like the bed sheets look like a hand.
I'm totally I have to look just to if it is, it's totally him. Let me see. Almost there. All right. Oh yeah, that was all him.
Oh really? Because that was really cool. I didn't notice that until it was pointed out to me.
That is all Guillermo. He's super sneaky, isn't he?
Yeah. The other thing was I don't know if. Have you seen that picture of like the girl running with the ice cream, but the ice cream like starts spilling and she's freaking out? Yeah. That was put in issue 2 in a bit where they're on a carousel. And again, the question was that you who wanted to put that in, or was that Guillermo who snuck it in there?
He's sneaky. I'm gonna give it to him.
All right, fair enough.
He gets all the blame and all the credit.
And last question, which is from Ray, who runs the Moon Knight podcast, and I'll point out to my listeners that I also run a Superman podcast with Ray, and you should all go listen to it. His questions are actually about your recent Carnage tie-in.
Oh, cool.
So with separation anxiety, how much free reign did you have to tell that tale on the symbiotes? Did Marvel have a premise set out, or did you pitch that story to them?
We pitched the story to them. Again, they were pretty hands-off about it. Like, there was a certain, not even so much an A to B, there was definitely a B. We knew we had to go get them to New York. So wherever the piece ended, like that, it had to be them kind of like beginning to embark upon the symbiotes have to make their way to Null to kind of like answer the siren's call of their symbiote god. And but beyond that, it was really free terrain. They were like, oh, whatever story you think you could fill within this kind of I think they posed it as a question of like, what have they been up to? Like, what are they doing? And they kind of gave me a map point where like the last time we had seen them, they were adhered to this dog, and that was the kind of that was the kind of basic, very kind of like rudimentary, like this is where we know they were, so now we get to say where they are. And we just started with the dog, and again, in perfect John Carpenter thing-like fashion, we had that dog kind of like entering into the scene and starting us off.
Cool. It's really cool that you have so much free reign over a lot of this stuff. Like it's not what I guess with Carnage it's a bit less surprising because of just look at the dude.
Yeah.
But with Iron Fist and stuff, it's really cool.
Yeah. I feel like I've been very fortunate where like for better or for worse, they've let me tell the stories I've wanted to tell, and do it in a way that feels, I feel like, specifically with Phantom Lamb and, with Absolute Carnage, Separation Anxiety, they're not personal stories, but they are stories that I told the way that I wanted to tell. Yeah. So, I live and die by them. Like they were what I wanted to do.
Actually, there was someone, you mentioned that some of the circles of hell were a bit censored. I know someone who was actually like kind of grossed out by that whole sequence, so I just wonder what it would be like if they weren't censored.
Yeah, they were pretty gnarly.
They were. Event Horizon?
Totally.
Okay, I was just thinking about that whole... So Ray's second question is, have you read much of the Absolute Carnage event? If so, what are your thoughts on it, specifically it being a darker, more horror-tinged event?
I mean, it's a pretty crazy summer. Like, they've really been going to town. Like, I feel like the bar has been raised for these kind of massive comic-wide, character-wide events that Marvel's doing. And, you know, Carnage is he's a pretty dark dude. So, you know, I don't know where they go from here. Like, I feel like it would be nice to have a nice kind of quiet return, not a return to form per se, but just that, like, you know, when the dust settles, and the blood dries, like who's going to be left? I don't know, like maybe it's like Spider-Man does his laundry or something.
So I guess that's all the listener questions and stuff. So moving on, since we're on the topic of Carnage, why don't you tell us about Scream, Curse of Carnage?
Yeah, I can't say super duper much, but it's coming out November 27th, right in time for Thanksgiving. And it's going to be an ongoing series. It is, I can't say much more than that, but I do think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it'll be pretty spooky. I think we're going to go horror.
Wow, I'm shocked. And you also have a book called The Remaking coming out, which actually looks pretty interesting.
Oh, I think it's very interesting. Comes out October 8th from Quirk Books, and it's basically, you know, kind of like a ghost story told 4 different ways that just constantly evolves over time.
Is the butler the ghost? Or?
I'll never tell.
Okay. But yeah, keep an eye out for those guys. I'm more than 100% certain that a lot of you are going to be picking up Scream, Curse of Carnage regardless. But
yeah, please do.
Yeah. No. Well, let's see. We have 1 hour and 5 minutes, so we're nearly perfect.
Oh,
nearly.
Nice.
But yeah, and is there anything else you wanted to talk about, or?
No. Well, thanks for having me. And as long as I haven't alienated any Iron Fist fans, I'm happy and relieved.
No, of course not. I hope you go back to Iron Fist at some point, because I'd love to see more Iron Fist, magic, horror, whatever goodness.
Iron fingers crossed.
I mean, you know, when you see Danny fighting demons with kung fu, it's pretty awesome. So
you can't ask for more than that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much for coming on and helping us celebrate our 100th episode.
Wow, happy birthday.
Yes, thank you. It's been a long road. Yeah, so maybe talk to you again one day.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
All right, man. It was great talking to you. Thank you.
Right, cheers. Thanks very much.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, now we're back. And thanks, Karl, for making that transition really seamless and easy to edit. So, I want to thank Mr. Clay Mcleod Chapman again for coming on. It was really awesome talking to you.
That was fantastic, and he's
really
a super nice guy.
Yeah. And, some really interesting stuff to say as well. I'm super stoked you came on and that you were so keen to talk about the Phantom Limb because, as listeners know, like it's, I don't know, we had a lot to say about it when it was coming out, just because it was so different and cool and stuff. So it was really awesome to have some of those questions answered as well. Like, what did the palm reader see? Which was a big one I had for ages, and it was so awesome to finally, like, how many times you get to just talk to the author and get the answer to like a question like that.
And don't you think it's a little bit odd that, no one at Marvel said, oh, just to let you know, we've kind of just used this demon. They didn't throw him a heads up.
Yeah.
I think that's the only odd thing. One, it's cool that they gave him such a free reign. But I do find it's odd that none of like the bigwig editors that look over all this crap going, you realize we just used this villain.
I'm guessing that
not that it hurt anything.
No.
But the fact that he didn't even know, like, you would figure they would have given him a heads up and he would have been, that's okay, cool, I'm just going to use them again. They'd be like, that's fine. Just wanted to let you know. But nobody informed him.
And due to the surreal nature of King Yama and stuff, you can kind of hand wave it regardless. But yeah, you're right. It is weird because King Yama's like the main bad guy in this. But I mean, I reckon the guy who was, the editor just either didn't read Living Weapon or just didn't remember, because King Yama was only in one issue in Living Weapon, so it's just like for freaks like us to pick up on this stuff. But yeah.
I also have to wonder if at like the Marvel/Disney headquarters, is there like a huge database for them to look up the characters to see like immediate rundowns of who they faced, what happened, and blah blah blah.
From what I understand, and this isn't just from Mr. Chapman, from what I understand, like the guy, the editor or whatever, he'll just give you a bunch of comics to read to give you a gist of the character. Like that's the vibe. That's like I read that in a Superman thing as well. Like he just got given a bunch of Superman comics to read before he wrote Superman. Like recent runs as well. I think they give you recent stuff. So
yeah. I mean, I would expect that they've got a database to a point. I don't know if they'll have gone back through everything, because there's a lot of digitization you'd have to do to get that in. But I'd like to think, I mean, as a librarian, I would like to think that every time a comic comes out, somebody inputs what characters are in it at least.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Honestly, like, I don't think, I mean, you can just go on the Marvel wiki. That's pretty thorough for a lot of things. Like the various wikis
I think
stuff.
Carl just meant, I wonder if there's actually an in-house one.
Yeah.
I'd like to think there's some sort of basic in-house one, but who knows?
I forget what it was called, but it was called Marvel Universe. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the Marvel Universe comics. Yeah. Which is basically the heroes from A to Z, and then they even did deceased issues. And Iron Fist is in one, just to let you guys know, because he was considered dead for years.
I have a pet. I have a pet version. Is in one of the Pet Avengers hardcovers. It's all the pets in Marvel.
They were, for what they were, which was nothing but a short synopsis of the heroes. These things back in the 80s and 90s were super popular to the point where they kept reprinting new ones.
Valiant does one every year.
And one of the versions was 3 hole punched cards of the heroes. And on the front of the card, you had like front view, side view, and back view, almost like mugshot of the hero, and on the back was more of the little short synopsis. But for the first time with those Marvel Universe cards, they actually said like major events. They would list major events that happened, just short 4 or 5 words, and the comic and number it appeared in. And they gave a whole list of like major events for the heroes. So that was really cool, and that was the first time they did that. So I was thinking like they would just have something like that, but like meets Luke Cage, Power Man 48 becomes Heroes for Hire.
I would
Power
like
Man and
that.
Iron Fist number 51 or whatever, when they officially become the team, and that meets Colleen Wing meets Misty Knight, loses hand, stuff like that.
I don't
get sent to the 7th level of hell in Kunlun.
Yeah, I don't think they would have anything like that. Like, they should, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either, yeah.
Maybe we should start it then.
You go, enjoy.
Well, I mean, you can get, like...
Oh, come on, Rebecca, this screams you!
I do not have the time or all the issues.
You just don't want to do your work for what you think should be fun.
They did,
It won't be fun, it'd be work.
It's a hell of a lot of work.
This guy, I can't remember his name, but I have the book here. But he did like these encyclopedias for Batman and Superman. So like one big book for each character up to 2010, and you would read. It would give you like, so let's say, okay, you read the section on. It has every like character, nearly every character that's appeared in these comics, except for like ones that just aren't important and appeared in one issue. But anyway, and it has like the issue they appeared, their development up to that point, and when like like if you read the Superman article, it'll give you, okay, issue number X is when he first used heat vision, for example. And I would love if they did those for more characters. Like, I would love one for Iron Fist, because we need one for Iron Fist. You know, and so, like, I guess that kind of ties back, because it's like, I think they have done it, but not in company, if you know what I mean. Like, they've done it to sell, and they've only done it for these two characters, but I think it should be done for more characters. But I guess it's hard because these characters aren't going out of publication, so it's only going to be up to a point. Yeah. And then, like, 20 years from now, there's going to be a whole bunch of new info that won't be included. But I think it'd be really cool if they, like, you know, hey, do one for Spider-Man or something, you know, see how it sells. Because they're really good, because the amount of times, like, if you pick up a new issue of something, you have to go on, like, their wiki page and look at their history and stuff to figure out if you're missing anything in this new series. I don't know. Anyway, this will go places, so. But, yes, the interview. It was good. Awesome. Do you guys have any thoughts? Any other
not
thoughts?
any major ones, just that it was really good. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much
Very nice person.
Yeah, everything got answered.
You pretty much asked him everything you possibly could ask him.
Yeah. It was only 3 issues, so. But yeah, no, awesome. Thanks again, Mr. Chapman. I also got your book, The Remaking, sitting in my room. It's a ghost story told from different points of view. So, if you want a spooky book for October, make sure you go pick that up. Because we're in October now. Spooky times, guys. Speaking of spooky, yes, we are still covering Contagion. We're just not doing it this week. And we're probably going to be doing a few issues, like 2 or 3 issues in the next episode to catch up. But they're not super heavy reading, so we should be fine.
We were asked to cover Iron Fist's involvement in the Maximum Carnage thing. And honestly, there really hasn't been much involvement so far, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dom Part 2 requested that, and he's also requested we cover the Arc and Ultimate Spider-Man dealing with the Marvel Knights taking on the Kingpin, which Iron Fist is heavily involved in, so we will cover that. Not sure when, but it will be covered at some point. And probably after Contagion, I would say, guys. Does that sound about right to you? Because it's probably only like a couple issues.
I think so, yeah.
He's only in a few, and his appearance in the half issue, or 0 issue, I can't remember which one it is, if it's 0 or a half, is worth mentioning, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've not been keeping up with the Carnage event, so.
So we will cover that next before we jump back into Power Man and Iron Fist. And we also have a request from Phil Perrich from Capes and Lunatics, a fellow member of the collective, to cover the run that Carl's talked about a few times, and he also got me all the issues of that. Thank you, Carl. The Heroes for Hire 90s run as well. Which has
been released in trade.
Yes, it's in 2 trades right now. It's called Luke Cage and Iron Fist. It's called Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the Heroes for Hire, something like that. I'll put links in the show notes. So we got a request to cover that. Not sure when we're covering that, because that's like a run. So
no. If you include the Quicksilver crossover and the Quicksilver Heroes for Hire annual, I think it's 21 issues total.
Yeah, so that's something we're going to work out later. And we will work it out and we will cover it. We're not going to wait until we cover every single Power Man and Iron Fist before that, because then we won't do it for ages. But we do have to fit it in somehow. But we will get on that. So, yeah.
I wouldn't mind breaking out also into the Iron Fist. I don't want to say run, but he was the money. Defenders run.
Yeah.
With Red She-Hulk and
Yes, I love that run.
Namor and Doctor Strange.
Matt Fraction, basically.
Talking about cars.
Yeah. Danny's pretty comic relief in that run, but despite that, I love it. So you know it's good.
I love it. It's a good run.
And I really like how it answers certain questions about the Marvel Universe as well, and I love
I think it balances his humor with him actually also having a point.
Yeah, and the insane scale of it, I love it. It's great. Yeah. I'll never get tired of that part where Danny gets shot in the chest and he just pushes it back out with his chi. Like, that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it impresses Namor. That's the best part.
Yeah, he actually just says impressive afterwards. So, it's good. Yeah. Good. That will be great to cover at some point. And we don't really need to cover anything before it either. So.
Yeah, it's totally standalone.
Like, the immortal weapons show up, but we can explain who they are. So. So that's like all the interview and stuff.
And as far as Iron Fist news goes, he is in this week. He is in Contagion issue 2, right? 'Cause 3's out next week.
Oh, 3's already out.
No, 3's already out.
3's out. Okay, so he's in Contagion 3. He is on the cover of the brand new Crazy #1.
The brand new Crazy. What's that?
Yeah.
Was he on the cover of it? I didn't see that.
He's in the pie that Obnoxious the Clown is holding.
Oh, the clown put me off looking at the cover, to be honest.
Yeah, he is only on the cover. Unfortunately, he's not.
Oh, really? He hasn't got. Because there was one of the stories and it was quite fun. It's been all over Twitter, and I was thinking of buying it, and I had a look, and that's how I've seen the clown. But I didn't look that closely because it was just like, why are they such ugly covers? I can't deal with it.
No, only in the pie. If he's in the issue, I missed it because I searched.
Oh, well, I'm sure you'd have spotted it. Yeah, I see him in the pie.
And as far as searching goes, he is actually again in the history of the Marvel Universe. In the panel of Captain Marvel's death, where he's in his hospital bed surrounded by heroes, he is in the lower left-hand corner. And surprisingly, not next to Luke Cage.
Please tell me that Daredevil's in that and he's facing the wrong way.
I don't know on that one.
He is in that in the Little Marvel. Daredevil's facing the wrong way every time. Very cute.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. Contagion, we're not talking about Contagion now, but it has been good. I'll just tell you guys, it's gotten better. We will be talking about it properly. And, yeah, so... yeah, also, if you have any questions about the interview as well, shoot them on over to us for next episode. Or whatever episode, and, yeah. So now now's just a relaxed time. We're just gonna, we came up with some stuff we wanted to talk about on the show ourselves that we don't usually talk about, like just rambling stuff. It's all Iron Fist related because, we're celebrating our boy Daniel Rand this episode as well as our podcast. We started this podcast because he just wasn't getting any rep. He needed rep, and now he's getting rep, and. I do hope we've actually gotten some people into Iron Fist. That would be a cool thought, but who knows?
Yeah, I hope so. And if not, well, get on it, people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Iron Fist is great. If 100 episodes hasn't convinced you already. Although, like, probably 40% of these episodes are me going, this story sucks, I hate it, but...
Same.
Yeah.
40.
The quote-unquote golden age is definitely, I think, Danny's first run. I think that was the really good stuff.
Oh, I don't know. We haven't got too much yet.
I was using golden age as tongue-in-cheek. No, I mean, like, that we've covered on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, there's definitely other good Iron Fist stories. Yeah. Speaking of good Iron Fist stories, so the first question, guys, what are our favorite Iron Fist stories? Does anyone want to go first? Like, what's our favorite Iron Fist story? Let's choose one. So story arc, run, or like single issue. Let's just choose one.
That's difficult to sort of specify them out like that. I mean, my gut instinct would probably be Immortal.
Yeah.
Iron Fist, because it's so defining for him. It's like it's clearly the one that most people would recommend as your sort of the easiest entry route into him in a modern day.
Yeah.
And it was definitely the thing that got me excited about him again. So it's kind of safe and a bit standard, and I love lots of other things, and it may not include my favorite one issue if I had to think of a one issue, but I think, I'd have to stick with Immortal Iron Fist.
Do you like just the Britain stuff, or all of it, or not Brisson, sorry, Brubaker.
All of it, the whole run. If you're going to take a whole run, the whole run.
Yeah.
It's just my favourite sort of run.
I've got to read it again, but it's fresh enough in my memory. Yeah.
I'm not expecting us to agree on that, by the way.
Oh, no, I'm not saying we have to agree on our decisions. Yeah. That would be ridiculous. What's your favourite Iron Fist story? No, that's wrong.
I hope you're hoping for us to come to a consensus. I don't think we're going to.
It wasn't like on my last Superman episode where someone said, oh, I love that story, and then I just go, I didn't like it. It was not one of my... That wasn't one of my finer moments. Oh, it was even worse. Anyway, do you want to go next, Carl, or do you want me to go next?
Sure. Well, first I have to ask, are we going to do the worst also?
Yeah, let's do that too. That sounds fun. But let's do that after this.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with how I was introduced to Iron Fist.
Yep.
Which, Rebecca, do you remember the first story? Where you discovered Iron Fist? Like, who's this guy in the green and yellow?
Yeah.
And did he have surgery recently, and that's why he has a cone around his head?
Yeah. I mean, they're all valid questions.
So what was your first, Rebecca? Since I'm going to combine it into mine.
Do I remember? I don't know. I don't remember which my first actual Iron Fist was. I remember it was after my mum had died, and so I would have been in my probably early teens, which takes us to early 80s, and I just saw them on the cover of a comic. It would have been one of the Power Man and Iron Fists, and picked it up. It was one that it had enough of a summary of his history that I thought lost his parents. Interesting. And no, so I don't know. No, it's way too long ago, and enough for me to want to go back and read more and find out more about him though. But it would have been around that time. Is all I can say. So what about yours, Carl?
My first introduction was in the original 3-issue run of Contest of Champions.
Oh, wow.
Which he really doesn't do much in, and actually gets his ass handed to him again by the Invisible Woman, doing the whole bubble over the head, you can't breathe and you're going to pass out.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that's fun.
And I'm trying to find what year that came out. But after that one, a short amount of time passed, and then I was staying at my aunt's house because my aunt would give our parents a break every once in a while and take a kid for a weekend. And I was staying at my aunt's house, and well, of course there's no year on this. She took me to 7-Eleven, which is a convenience store that I don't know if you guys have over there in either location.
Used to.
We still have them.
And they had the spinning rack of comics, and I picked up the Power Man and Iron Fist with a certain werewolf woman on the cover.
Love her.
Danny kicking ass wearing roller skates, and it just blew my mind because I could barely stand on roller skates. And I'm like, he's kicking guys' asses wearing roller skates. He's the coolest guy ever. And that just, like, I already loved Kung Fu movies. I already taken a little bit of martial arts. Again, I think this was, I want to say also early to mid 80s. I'm not finding a year on anything I'm trying to search for right now. But that started the whole, gotta find more issues. We had a local comic book shop. So I started picking up stuff randomly. And of course, I pick it up just to find out, oh, you know, he's dead.
Yeah.
So I think I got into collecting like 12 issues before they killed him.
And was that your favorite issue as well?
It's still my favorite issue because it's what introduced me to the character.
Okay.
But honestly, I enjoyed all the original stuff, all the appearances. And because of at the time where I was going from, because Immortal hadn't come out yet. The Heroes for Hire run that we're going to touch upon soon, the remake of Heroes for Hire, I absolutely loved. And that will always have a place in my heart.
Okay.
And I also completely agree with the first villain in the series, so that helps too.
Well, that'll be interesting when we get to that. Yeah. I guess it's my turn now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So first exposure to Iron Fist. I can't think of a specific point because he's one of those characters that just popped up in books I would read now and then. Pretty sure he popped up in... actually, I was into Daredevil before Iron Fist. He popped up in that. Him and Power Man. He popped up in Spider-Man. He popped up in... What's that? Cable and Deadpool as well.
Mm-hmm.
And but I remember I'm pretty sure... see, if I listen to our old episodes, because I kind of forget things and get things mixed up sometimes. Like, a lot of the times I don't have specific points for things, but I'm pretty sure... I don't know, I can't... It was... I'm pretty sure it was, like... Was it Ultimate Alliance 2 or Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3? I can't even remember. But I played as him in one of those games, and since I've been doing martial arts most of my life, I thought, hey, this guy's really cool. I'll read some of his stories. And I'm pretty sure I went on to Immortal Iron Fist. I read that. That was the first Iron Fist I read, I'm pretty sure. Like the first proper Iron Fist I read and got super invested in. I might have read like Power Man and Iron Fist a couple of issues before that. But yeah, that's what got me like absolutely hooked to the character. And actually, I remember what I read after that. The thing I read straight after that was the original run. And I just remember thinking, because I was used to reading old comics, so I just remember thinking, man, I wish I read this run first, because like the name, I got so mixed up when reading Immortal Iron Fist because there was Daniel Rand, Wendell Rand, Orson Randall, and I always got it jumbled when I was reading.
Yeah, there's a lot of Randalls and Rands and yeah.
And like the Immortal Iron Fist explains it a bit, but didn't explain it enough. It's only when I read the original run that I got like a full comprehension of like, okay, now I'm completely clear on all these characters and who they are. But you know, Immortal Iron Fist was still kick-ass, so it was great. It's not my favorite story though. Favorite. So I was thinking about this today. I was gonna say Living Weapon, but I changed my mind to Marvel Premiere 15 and 16. Those first two issues, which show his origin. If you just listen to our first two episodes, you'll understand why I love them so much. They're really like kind of, they're so throwback, sort of pulpy, in addition to having like really awesome, you know, Chinese mythology and stuff, and just such like a cool design for a character. And like there's just so many things in those two issues that work so well. It's one of my favorite origins. You know, I love that sort of Lost Horizon kind of west going east, you know,
Yeah.
And sort of like changing and then coming back to Western civilization as well. Not that those two issues really dealt with him coming back. They were just more about, I loved Kunlun. I loved all that stuff, and I loved all the martial arts. That was like it was Gil Kane drawing. And yeah, no, I love those two issues to death. Like the first issue is awesome. It has some really good martial arts in it. It has like the hiking and stuff, the awesome artwork, and then the next issue has, him fighting a dragon. But like, I don't know, it was just, and it was a proper Chinese dragon as well, like no wings. I don't know, this is just stuff I really love, and like the artwork made so much of it as well. The artwork's really fantastic, especially in the done up versions.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's like coloring smudges and stuff, but
yes, color corrected newer versions are really prove that. I don't know if I should say this or not. It just seems like the Marvel way back in the 70s and 80s, they had a way of doing stuff, and you knew you were looking at a Marvel book when you picked up a Marvel book even if it didn't have a cover.
Yeah.
Because they had, and they were strict about it. This is how you draw these characters, and none of it looked bad. Nowadays, some of the stuff don't look that good. Some of the stuff is unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. Some of the stuff is so far beyond. Like, I don't even know how these artists do it. Because, it's not just the artists. The colorers and the stuff like that all have a huge hand in what they put on this paper. But, I don't know. Some of the stuff they're putting out every once in a while is just like slapdash. Oof. But then the stories can be fantastic, so that makes up for it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the art in those early issues stands out.
Yeah, and I think like it was the Fantastical elements were done really well as well. We only really saw those Fantastical elements. We didn't see them heaps, mostly through flashbacks caused by head trauma. But yeah, especially
There's a lot of head trauma.
There's a lot of head hitting.
Two moments.
Head hitting flashbacks.
Two moments that can just stick out to me in my head is when he's at the tree of the forbidden. I can't remember what the tree's called, but the tree with the UT. That'll give him eternal life. Like I really loved that.
Yeah.
I love that whole aspect of Danny's character, and that's what these two issues did. Is that he gives up immortality to get revenge, and he doesn't take revenge, which is one of the reasons I love Living Weapon as well, because it really goes into that. And I also love like the whole showdown with Xiao Lao in the cave. I think is just drawn beautifully as well. So yeah, those are my two favorite issues of Iron Fist, and they're definitely up there in my favorite comic book issues. Like I love them to death, and I own them as well. So I'm not CGC'd or anything; they're just sitting in the packets. I kind of want to get them CGC, but I'm kind of scared that they'll come back as like a 2 or something. So
I don't think it really matters for comics like of that age. And
stuff. No, it doesn't. But yeah, so I guess. That's our favourites. Yeah. So we're all gave different answers, but all gave good answers. So
Alfred, the worst.
Yeah, the worst. May as well let Karl start because it sounds like he's been sitting on the worst for a while.
I don't even know what to say is my worst, but go on.
It's the freaking dreadful freaking Cosmic Cube storyline.
How did I know it would be that?
From Marvel Comics Presents that ends with the ballerina costume. It was just so bad. I don't know what they were thinking. There's no redeeming anything in that story. I gotta wonder if it was written on a dare, honestly.
Yeah. Fair. Do you want me to go next, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if this counts as like one story, but I really didn't like the end of Power Man and Iron Fist, the last. I'd say like the last 5 or 6 issues, because they weren't even consistent in continuity with earlier parts of the run.
We're talking the original run, right?
The original Power Man and Iron Fist, yeah.
Okay.
Like the red costume and stuff.
Yeah,
and then
costume's hard.
then Danny, like, not to mention that there was inconsistencies with the characters in the same damn run. I know it was, like, different writer, but still. And then, to add the final insult, Danny's killed, and his funeral's a joke because it has Daredevil standing there looking the wrong way. Which is, like, one of my favorite Daredevil moments, but also one of the darkest moments in Iron Fist history.
Yeah.
So I'd say that would be my least favorite. But runner-up is also that awful 2-issue mini in the 90s, where with
is
like
that the anime art one?
No, that's
no, not that
Breathless.
one.
Was 6 issues.
I actually like Breathless, but I seem to be alone in that opinion.
It's not that good.
I think it has.
I like some of the story, but I cannot stand the art.
That's what I think. The story is really good. I love death cults. But anyway. Yeah, that 2-issue
great line.
that 2-issue arc in the 90s was super 90s art and incoherent story. I wasn't big on that.
Lee Field's Jim Lee baby drew that one.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my runner-up, but yeah, the first one's definitely the end of that Power Man and Iron Fist. Not looking forward to getting the coverage, if I'm being quite honest.
We can do it as a big arc. Just say this is the end bit that we're not too keen on. Red costume, blah blah blah.
I'll give a shout out to our lovable grouch, John Byrne, for bringing Danny back in the pages of Namor because he didn't like that he was killed and wanted him back. So thanks, man. I'm glad you brought him back for us.
But it's a horrible run.
Oh, the Namor run?
It's awful. I can't stand it. And like the only redeeming feature for me is that it brings Danny back.
Yeah.
The art just
and plant people.
No, I like them. I'm a big fan of the plant people, however we're pronouncing their name.
Yeah.
But unpronounceable plant people. That's their new name.
Yeah. I was gonna say that like it's not an Iron Fist run, but absolutely that's the one that pains me to read the most when I'm doing the rereads, is because I really, really hate the art of it.
I skipped over all the non-Iron Fist stuff.
Yeah, I think when I do it now, I skip over all the non-Iron Fist one. But even then, it's just like, oh, do I have to see the mullets and the? It's just like But now you've raised it, I think maybe what's it called? Breathless might be one of my least favorites.
Yeah.
Art-wise. I think the story is actually decent. The art just hurts me. And the fact there's just little, I don't remember all the details. I just remember there are lots of being irritating things. But also that 2-issue arc you're talking about as well is also dreadful.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of agreeing with you on most of them. Like, I don't think I had as strong a reaction to the end of Power Man and Iron Fist. I just found it profoundly confusing and disappointing. Mostly confusing. But those 90s ones I actively hated reading. So they go in as joint worst because I don't even know if I can distinguish them all that well in my head. It's like when I do a read through, they're the ones that I start groaning when I get to.
Yeah.
Is that the one with him with Ghost Rider? Which are those ones as well? Because they're dreadful as well. Yes, with the almost blue costume. Can't stand it. Anything from that period, awful. So sorry, anyone who's a big fan, and I think I have a feeling I know someone who is. So I apologize.
There's a couple with Ghost Rider. I think I like the one where they fight Decay.
I just found them all like just gobbledygook.
Oh, it's a very 90s gobbledygook, but I still like it.
Yeah.
Gobbledygook is such a good term for the 90s, actually. Especially 90s Marvel. Like, my God, that 90s Ghost Rider run is absolutely gobbledygook. Like, that sums up my feelings about it perfectly. It's just Johnny's a cyborg. There's all this crap going on. It's gobbledygook.
It's just so random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So many comics were flooding the market back then. It was ridiculous.
And it's like they were trying everything, and there's something great to be said about experimentation. But in amongst that, you have to expect some of it to be crashing disasters. And I think Iron Fist got the crashing disasters.
And what was their... Marvel put out that whole other line that I think had like Dark Hawk and Sleeper and...
Ooh, I like them.
Yeah, but what was the line of the comics called that came out in the 90s?
Max?
No, it wasn't Max.
I don't
It had
know.
like 5. It started with like 5 separate characters or 5 separate books, and it went nowhere. There was a group called Something Incorporated.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. While Carl looks that up. So next is the crossover section. So let's start off with our favorite crossovers. Do we do? Should we word it as crossover? Should we word this particular question as crossover or team up? Because I don't know if
I
there's.
don't know. When we were thinking about it, I don't think I thought that clearly. I have no idea. So what? Either. Let's do either.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
crossovers there's not going to be as many crossovers.
It was just called New Universe.
Okay. Which explains why we didn't think we'd heard of it, because that's pretty.
I think you had Night Mask and Starbrand and a few other people.
I like all the characters then. So.
Do you want to go first? Favorite crossover, Carl, or team up?
Or team up, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to go first.
Oh man. I don't even know. Like, I can't think of
No, I can't think of one.
that I've because most of his stuff is by himself or with Luke Cage. I'm not really counting Luke Cage as like a crossover.
No, I don't think you can.
The crossover with Deadpool with the pimp.
That was pretty fun.
Actually,
fun.
that was really funny.
Yeah, especially when they went back to it last year. Yeah, that was pretty. All his Deadpool. To be fair, all his Deadpool team ups are pretty fun.
And Danny sends Luke the text at like 3 a.m. saying, "Hey, have you talked to Misty?" And Luke just sends a text back saying, "Danny, I don't care." Like,
yeah. I think maybe when Deadpool crosses over, because they don't write Danny as quippy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because they can't, because you've got Deadpool in there.
And also the sheer fact that
they do
Deadpool
actually
always
stand out.
says, "I'm in the group. I'm part of Heroes for Hire."
I love
Cressy,
him.
like, no, you're not. No.
And he always teases them about their outfits, and I just like that there's this running thing. Like, even in that comic recently, when I say recently, I'm talking about in the last year and a half, where where Deadpool reveals himself to be a Harry Potter fan. I don't know if you know the comic, but he goes to do this grudge match against Iron Fist, and it's really sweet because he's kind of like, he's got this grudge against Iron Fist for something or other. And he sort of turns up, and Danny's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Like, just you do you, Wade, kind of. So, yeah, I think that the Deadpool ones might be a good one. I mean,
Yeah.
I was going to say I like him in Defenders, which I guess is almost a crossover since he's not usually in the Defenders team, but then neither some of the other of that Defenders team. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, but I'm thinking, well, it's already like a team book, so I wasn't sure if it counted either.
I don't know if it counts, but yeah, I'm happy to go Deadpool.
I think I'll go with that too, because it was really funny, like, and especially the part that was actually in the 70s as well.
Yeah.
And that's where Wade gets that chick pregnant as well.
Yeah.
Which turns out to be really dark in the present day, but yeah.
Really.
Which is like classic Deadpool, love it. But I also want to point out, it's not my favorite, but I want to point out, did you guys read the Deadpool team up with Iron Fist?
I think so, yeah.
Where they fight some like warlord, some Chinese warlord or some warlord from Kunlun, and it was actually written by an Australian. I thought I'd mention that. So
nice.
That was a neat little crossover as well. Yeah.
It's just every time I've seen him with Deadpool, he's been fun. Like, even when it's just like crossing paths, it's always quite a fun little.
Yeah.
I like which is the one where he calls Deadpool Spider-Man. That's very funny. Because he's been going because Deadpool's been like
booger guy.
That could be anyone.
He's super powerful. Dupe. The Dupe team up was pretty good too.
Oh yeah, that's AVX, A plus X, wasn't it? It is.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But also, I mean, him taking over for Daredevil when Daredevil's either in jail or doing stuff out of the country has always been good.
Yeah, I guess that's crossovery, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Daredevil. So
I was going to mention that, but like, it's an awesome fight they both have while Danny's dressed as Daredevil, but Danny's like, he's actually barely in it, really. Like, he's in it a bit, and there's some cool feng shui stuff going on with his apartment, but yeah, I feel like they should have done more with that. But anyway, do you have a favorite car? Is it
I thought I already covered that. It was the Deadpool.
Yeah, Carl's the one who came up with the
Oh,
Deadpool.
okay. So we all have the same one then. All right. Do you guys remember that Wolverine Iron Fist Return of Kunlun crossover?
Yeah. I didn't like that one as much though.
It wasn't awful.
No, but I like it.
I think it was like the first time Danny interacted with the Hand. Actually, they were fighting him in the sewers and they stole his chi.
Started with Guardians, I believe, and rolled over to the miniseries.
Okay, cool. Let's do worst crossover. Silence.
God, that's hard as well. I'm just trying to think, like, which one have I been like if I hated him in? Namor run, but he brought him back to life, so I can't say that. Because
what about the Ghost Rider
have
one?
A lot to say. Yeah, the Ghost Rider one. It was hideous. But mostly based on the art, and I had no idea what was going on through most of the story. So
New Avengers, where he would pop in and out whenever they felt like it, and I believe it was those issues that we got the fake chi stress pregnancy.
Yeah, I don't acknowledge those issues.
Totally pissed me off because I was so excited, and then just to get spit in the face because I'm just like, okay, we already have the perfect teammates, and now they're both going to be teammates and parents. This is only going to get better and more hilarious. And no, let's just shit on it, have her leave, and then him boink Spider-Woman for an issue.
Get Bendis.
Yeah, but the Spider-Woman thing wasn't an in-continuity issue.
Okay.
Let's put that. Before we go into damn, he just wanted to hook him up with Spider-Woman. That was a purposefully not in continuity issue, and it's very funny. Like, if you take it out of, any sort of, it's a funny little story. It's stupid though. But yes, I don't like those New Avengers, but I don't know. I think for me, it's still those Ghost Rider ones actually pained me. What about you? What about you, Connor?
Can I change my best crossover?
I guess.
Marvel team up with Spider-Man when he fights Davos.
Okay, fair.
Actually, and I also really liked the other Marvel team up with Spider-Man where he had the ridiculous cone head and they were fighting that guy who was going backwards through time or something. That was cool too.
Aging backwards.
Yeah, whatever that was. Worst, man. I mean, I would also say New Avengers, but a different period. But at that point, Iron Fist was part of the team book, so it's not really a crossover. I don't know if I can give this one an answer because
that's fine.
You asked the question.
Well, one of us did. We were just asking them in the chat, weren't we? I
don't
know who came to it.
Yeah, Carl, it was you. Which team up kind of stank?
Carl had things he wanted to say.
Yeah, I can't remember reading a team up that wasn't already part of the team book that I hated enough, really. Like, I thought that Wolverine Return of Kunlun was like meh, but I didn't hate it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
That's fine. I think pass is absolutely allowable.
Oh, no, Damnation.
No. Oh.
Oh, wait, it was bad for him because he didn't do anything.
He got to go into hell and do that cool fight. He got to do more than most of them.
I meant like the main book, like the actual crossover part, where he gets shot by a Hawkeye, and that whole event was gobbledygook too.
A little bit.
Like the tie-in books, like some of the tie-in books are good, but the main event was like.
I think he definitely got the best tie-in, though.
Yeah.
Honest. But anyway, moving on. What's on next?
Oh, who you would like to see him cross over with or do a team up with, which is a much better question, I think. Well, a much easier question, I should say.
I have to think about it. You can see how much care and attention I put these. Who would I like to? I don't know. Does anyone have a quick answer?
Me.
Squirrel Girl.
Oh, God. Really?
That would be awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, I might.
No, I think it would be absolutely hysterical.
I think it would be a lot of fun actually. She's pretty good. She's pretty good most of her team ups. So, God, I have no idea. Go on, Connor. Yours.
Okay, so I want a crazy mystical team up with Iron Fist, the Hulk, Loki, and Ghost Rider. And I want Iron Fist to have to be the team leader, because that would just make it even like crazier that he has to try and rein all these people in and get them to work together. And I think it'd be hilarious. They have to like rescue Doctor Strange or something.
My first question would be, which Hulk?
The green one. Bruce Banner.
Green one?
Bruce Banner.
Well,
I don't know.
There only is Banner.
Yeah, just grab.
I thought there's Choi or whatever.
Yeah,
No.
but he's not calling himself Hulk at the moment, so.
Bruce Banner.
But it's Bruce Banner, yeah.
Although I would also take that team led by Doctor Strange. In fact, I would love a.
But then She-Hulk's green as well, if we're going by colour. So.
I'd also, if we're talking about duo, I think my probably dream duo team up for Danny is Doctor Strange. I think I would really love like a book with just those two, and where Danny, I don't know, maybe he takes like a kind of Wong role, maybe a bit more.
If you want to go crazy and mystical, why don't you have him team up with Doctor Doom?
Well, because I don't know, I think Strange and Danny.
Bad guy still. It's the only bad thing. I'd quite like to see him with Doom actually, but it's going to be a while.
Strange and Danny have a history together, so and they have like a good dynamic with each other. I've wanted that for years. I wanted like just a Doctor Strange and Iron Fist team up book. I think that'd be rad. So, yeah. What about?
I don't know. It's like I'd like to see him with lots of different people. I'd like to see him with Spider-Woman actually. I'd like to see, because I think she's pretty cool. I'm trying to think who else would I like to see him with who he's not already hung out with a lot. Because I'm currently like, maybe the Guardians. I'd like to see do something cosmic. I don't know what, and I don't know which of the cosmic characters, whether it would be like sort of Nova Darkhawky or Sleepwalker would be quite fun.
Silver
I always think
Surfer.
it's cosmic. I know he's not really. Silver Surfer would see. I mean, he was with him in Defenders at least. I don't know, just because it's a context I've never really seen him in, and we know the Super Skrulls had interest in Danny before, so.
What if Danny got the cosmic bands? What would happen then?
Right, because or something. Yeah, I'd just like to see something cosmic with him, just because I've never considered it before, and it'd be kind of fun.
Iron Fist and Beta Ray Bill.
There, your dream, Iron Fist and Cosmo for me. Cosmo and Lockjaw. Shove them all in together. No. It'd be quite fun to see him with like Rocket, or like or even like Moondragon and that. If we're gonna, I'd be like to see what he could do in the cosmic. I mean, there'd have to be a little bit of a change to get him there, but we'll see.
I think you can. Iron Fist, I think, is super malleable for one reason, right? You have the Book of Iron Fists, which is just a book of pull whatever you want out of there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you can do anything with it. You can just retcon it as also as like limitless pages.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's something that puts me in a cosmic situation or lets me be on the cosmic level. I mean, I read somewhere they were gonna like they were planning on making Iron Fist like a lot more powerful through Immortal Iron Fist, like Goku cosmic level, but they sort of didn't now he's like in between street level and tire level.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because Danny is kind of in that awkward spot.
Yeah. Of like, it's the same with the supernatural. He's like part supernatural, but usually treated as street level.
Yeah,
Which I think is why you kind of want to see him do street level, do the sort of supernatural.
Because he really is above street level. Like he can still do street level, but I mean,
is above street level, but he hangs out with street level.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, didn't he?
kill a god? Yes.
No. No, we know he's done shit like that. I mean, he's punched holes through the backs of dragons' heads that are the size of
he is the Eye of Agamotto.
That was awesome. Yeah, he's still possessed. That if I was writing Iron Fist, I'd probably address that in like the first issue.
Yeah.
I was going to say it would be the number one thing that Connor addressed would be like, why is he still the Eye of Agamotto?
That's a whole nother show.
You know,
And,
I feel like we stopped talking about that at a certain point. Do you remember at a certain point we were talking about that all the time?
I guess it got
And
to
then
a
we
point
seem to
where
have
it's
gone
like,
back to the comics, and now I'm feeling like I need to mention it again. To me, it's like the Moon Knight Batman reference. It's like now it's going to be Danny's still the Eye of Agamotto. You know, like.
I guess it's like, how much more can we talk about it? Because it's just not ever going to get
Not
resolved.
at all. But like, it's funny.
You know, Brisson's been doing a great job with Contagion. He's tied up everything except for that.
Yeah.
When Danny he was given the book, wasn't it said like he's got to write 5 of his own pages or some shit like that in the book?
There was definitely
like
he has to write some of his own pages. Yeah, I don't remember the details.
So we got to find that panel, because if there is, like, if let's say it's 5,
yeah,
he's number 66.
I mean,
we can do the math and figure out, well, there's got to be at least this many pages that do that many different things. And so far we've seen like 7 new things out of the book.
I mean, it's funny because Danny's simultaneously the best and worst Iron Fist, because he's taken out opponents that none of the Iron Fists could ever hope to take out. And one of the notable ones being, aside from like the giant dragons and gods and stuff, one of the notable ones being like he took out the demon that was killing all the other Iron Fists. But at the same time, Kunlun like fell when he was Iron Fist, so which is like you know, that's not supposed to happen if you're Iron Fist.
It's not on my watch.
You know, best and worst Iron Fist. Actually, technically the best Iron Fist is that kid in the future. He was cool. The whole weird Akira thing going on.
1,000 years to move a half inch.
Yeah, well. Sometimes these things take time.
I'm just saying that takes a lot of focus.
Yeah.
Right. Next question. Oh, next question is actually for me specifically.
No, I got a question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it's not, we didn't discuss it, but I was thinking about it, especially with the stuff we just brought up. What was it referred to as? The Amalgamatum comics there? Where it was the DC Amalgam comics.
Yeah.
I just bought my first one. Very exciting.
What would you like to see if Iron Fist was in it?
If he was amalgamed with someone.
From DC.
Well, they always amalgam. Oh no, they don't. I guess they always amalgam them with someone either similar or opposite, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know actually.
Ghost Rider was merged with the Flash.
Yeah, Iron Man, Green Lantern,
and Etrigan the Demon. So that was kind of like a triple threat.
Maybe Nightwing. Is that just me saying maybe Nightwing for everything?
I think so, because
I was going to say Danny becomes a Green Lantern.
Yeah,
and the possibilities that could go from there. The Green Lantern ring charged by the chi of the...
Well, the whole thing is Green Lantern's powered by will, and so is chi, really, so it is kind of a fit. I don't know if they'd be cool together, though.
Too much the same?
Yeah, like, I don't see how I don't know, because I don't really think Iron Fist has an equivalent in DC or a similar person, you know?
No.
Martial art wise, it would probably be Karate Kid.
But then it would just be
no relation to the movies.
yeah. Well, then it would just be like nothing really new.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I've stumped you all then. Next question.
Maybe John Constantine. You can do some magic and stuff.
I'm sticking with Nightwing. I think that'd be alright.
Iron Fist, Dr. Fate.
Yeah, that's good actually.
It's possible. Oh my god, I've just thought one that would really annoy you both.
Why? What is it?
Iron Fist Booster Gold.
I like Booster Gold though.
Yeah, but you hate Quippy Danny.
Iron
Fist Booster Gold, but in the Jeff Johns sense of Booster Gold when he's not an idiot anymore and he's a hero. And if not, then Blue Beetle. Oh my god! Oh yeah, you could have Luke with the other one. So Danny Blue Beetle and Luke Booster.
There you go.
There you go.
I think
I've done.
Danny and the Flash would be cool as well.
Yeah.
Imagine the Iron Fist going that fast. God, that might be something. I might come up with something off the air and mention in the next podcast because there's a lot of DC characters that what about you? Oh yeah, Carl already said Green Lantern.
Which is I think a good one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Green Lantern, Dr. Fate.
Red Lantern could work as well.
Phantom Stranger.
I was thinking Phantom Stranger, but I couldn't really, figure out how that would, Phantom Stranger's already, like, pretty,
Phantom Stranger is a god, let's be honest.
Yeah. Because I briefly thought about the Spectre as well, but, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about him, but, I stand with my Booster and Blue Beetle.
And Nightwing.
Nightwing was a good first thought. Always.
I entertain the idea of Swamp Thing. It'd be highly amusing, I think, but it's just like,
it would be a very plant people.
Yeah. Ooh. Crossover. I smell a crossover. You just made
the tie-in right there.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool because, Swamp Thing's part of the green and stuff. Imagine he went into Kunlun and had to help Danny fight the plant people. That'd be so rad.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be, as an amalgam character, would be pretty cool as well. But I'd like to see Swamp Thing do Kung Fu, basically.
I think Swamp Thing's more of a judo guy, but...
Yeah, but imagine, if with all his, he could put out little, tentacly things and, slap people around with them. It'd be pretty fucking cool. Especially if one of them got the eye and the chi power. It's smack you in. So, I'm very into all these things.
Do you want to do the next question, then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, so this one's from Rebecca to me.
Oh my god.
Thank you for listener feedback. What story could you see Iron Fist and Superman join forces in? So it's one of those things you see it on paper, you don't think it could work, but then I'm just like, hey, what if Lex Luthor teamed up with Master Khan and took over Kunlun? And, and Danny had to go, Superman had to go, because Superman can't take on Master Khan, and they make robot dragons or something. Yeah. That's the rough draft of the story I would do if I was doing a story with them together. I'd be it would have Lex and Master Khan, and it would involve going to Kunlun. Because Lex wants Kunlun there's all sorts of reasons he'd probably want it. So,
sure. Plant people have probably got some...
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get Superman to go ham on some plant people as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my thing.
Cool.
It'll never happen. Ever. And I think the Swamp Thing thing would be cool as well, which I just talked about. Now, let's see. Oh yeah, actually this is a good one. So who would we like to see Iron Fist team up who's not in Marvel? So just from any other company in comics. I already have my answer. Oh.
I'm going Ninjak.
Yeah? That works. Yeah. Definitely works.
They're both rich. They're both like martial artists. Ninjak's very cool, calm spy. Danny's a little bit more superhero. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see how that works.
Doesn't Ninjak have the tech?
Ninjak has all the tech, yeah. He's ridiculous amount of tech, and Danny has all the firepower.
Mystical firepower.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would definitely work.
Do you want me to go next, Carl? Do you have an answer, or?
I would honestly say I would love to see one of my favorite heroes from DC, who is definitely B class, is Ragman.
Okay,
And I'd love to see, and it's I don't even know how to properly term Judaic mysticism.
Yep, Judaic mysticism is perfectly fine.
Is how I would pretty much classify him, and it's a whole different power set having to deal with the legends of the Golem, because Ragman is pretty much a cloth golem with a few extra powers thrown in with what it can do, and he's also a soul chamber, pretty much like he can hold your soul, and you, while in there, become service to him and decide whether you're going to work your way into heaven or go to hell. So I think some interesting things could be happening there with a mystical storyline.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I mean, like, this is an instant answer for me. It was so easy. Hellboy. Like, the Hellboy comics and, like, the Iron Fist universe could merge so seamlessly, especially given Iron Fist's very sort of pulpy, mystic origins. And the style of humor in the Hellboy comics as well would match perfectly with Danny's, you know? So I think it's just like a match made in heaven, and if you threw Orson Randall and Monster Johnson in there together, it would be even more perfect.
And Captain America?
No. Nothing against Cap. But like, yeah, that would just be like my absolute dream. Not only my absolute dream team up, maybe my absolute dream Iron Fist comic would be like a story with those two together. In fact, oh my god, what was that? In fact, like, I would love to see Danny in the Dark Horse Mignola universe. I think he'd be a good fit.
It would be quite fun, yeah.
Also, I think he'd be cool in DC as well. I'd love, like, Rands Corp, Wayne Tech, and Lex Corp existing in the same universe. But yeah. So, next one is, what's our most prized Iron Fist item and why?
I don't want to answer it.
Wow.
Because Carl just sent me a bunch of stuff, and I know he's got stuff to send you, and I don't want to.
Okay, so your prized possession is in that stuff, though.
It may well be.
Okay.
Prior to that stuff, I'm quite proud. I quite like my little action figure with the red suit, and it's pathetic and it's widely available, but I quite like it because I don't really like the red suits, and I just bought it, and I have it hugging my little action figure of Misty. So, I like that.
Cool. Yeah. I'll go next because Carl probably has a long list.
Yeah.
So I have two. So my first one is my copy of Marvel Premiere 15, and kind of 16, but 15 more, so probably, you know, because this is his first appearance, it's one of my favorite issues. As I said, it's not CGC'd or anything, it's just sitting in the seal. But yeah, obvious reasons, I prize it very much. I'm trying to work out, like, if I should display it anywhere or get it CGC'd, but money, anyway. And the other one is my Immortal Iron Fist Omnibus, which went out of print, and it's the Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction portion of the run, and it took like 6 months to get here because it went to Italy for some reason, and we had to sort that out. But it's
I'd
really
love
nice
to have that
omnibus.
sometime. Yeah, I haven't got it. I've got it as the individual trades. So
It's
So
still
definitely
going
those
for
two.
ridiculous money, unfortunately.
oh yeah, for sure. I'm just
Yeah.
hoping that one day it'll be reprinted. So
Or you find it in a shop and they don't know what it is.
yeah, right.
There's a place around here that has it, and it's only like $100 Australian bucks. And I'm telling my friend,
What?
man, get it because
that's
you got to get it because it's out of print and stuff.
I
And he's
think
like,
the last time I saw
no.
one on eBay, it went for $300 American.
Yeah.
I almost bought one once, and I can't remember what happened. I think they pulled the auction, and it was about £100. It was like a reasonable price.
God, I'm having rent trouble. Why don't I just buy it and sell it?
Because you run the risk that you might not.
Yeah.
Which is be a nightmare. So.
So yeah, what about you, Carl?
Well, I'm going to say 3. I have 3 of them.
All right.
And one of them I just recently acquired and posted on the Facebook page. And that was the Immortal Iron Fist boxing gloves,
Yeah.
which I totally stumbled upon. They have a somewhat, I don't want to say unknown history, but I can't collaborate it with anything. The guy, from what I understand, he thinks they may have been gifts for trainers from the actual Netflix show.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That makes sense.
But go on our Facebook page, you'll be able to see the pictures. They're white and gold.
They're very cool.
And unused and professionally done. This wasn't something that like somebody was hand painting in their basement. These things were actually printed on the gloves.
Carl, you should send them to me because I'm the only one here who currently boxes. So I can use
Whatever.
those.
I'll drop you like a bad habit. And
Yeah. So not at all, Mr. Coffee Slurper.
I can put all 300 pounds behind a punch, buddy. The other ones are, which I think I posted when we first started up this whole hot mess, was the oddity of the 1970-ish belt buckle I have, which still no one can give me any answers on. No one knows where I got it. No one can pull up any information on advertisements or anything of it ever being done. And it's officially stamped Marvel on the back and everything with a date. And again, that's also on the Iron Fist page. And I have a third one, which I don't think I shared ever. And I actually have the metal stamp that says the Immortal Iron Fist backwards. And it's from the printing press that was making the leatherette covers for the Immortal Iron Fist hardcover trade paperbacks.
Oh, nice.
Or trades.
Cool.
So I actually have the metal stamp used to emboss all the covers underneath the paper slipcover of the hardcover trades.
That's
Cool.
So I think that's kind of cool.
What's that ding that keeps going off?
My phone, my mother-in-law sent me pictures of a tractor show she went to.
Oh, bless. Tractor shows are important.
Alright, so what else, Carl?
That's it for me. That's enough.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
The list of what I don't have would be shorter.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about some other stuff I have too, but I'm like, I'll just chose my absolute favorites. Carl, what's your idea for Iron Fist coffee?
Iron Fist coffee?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Rebecca, what about you?
We already have Colombian. That's good enough.
Right.
I have no idea why Iron Fist coffee. Am I supposed to?
No, I thought Carl would know though, but I just went to you because he didn't. So.
I don't drink much coffee, but I would.
Kunlun coffee does have a good ring to it.
Does.
Yeah.
Tea would be better though. He does like his tea.
Yes.
True, but if
Lemon
it's
tea.
coffee, it needs to have a big kick. So put some
Fair.
meth in it.
Chi coffee. Coffee.
Chi coffee. Good for the cheese.
Yeah.
Chi tea.
Chi
Instead of
tea.
chai tea.
Yeah. I don't like chai tea.
All right. So this is Karl's suggestion. What would you change in Iron Fist history after his origin?
As if everyone doesn't know what I would change.
Yeah. Did you just want to get out of the way then?
I'll get it out of the way. Whether Misty and Danny had stayed together or not, I would not have ended her pregnancy in such a stupid way.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to see him be a dad. So, like, yes, I do like the relationship, but I have no problem with some status changes, and they would have been together a long time. And, like, if you don't, I understand there's an argument about not keeping people together and stuff like that. I would have liked to see them have the child, though. I think his chats with Luke in the pub about his fears about becoming a dad, and Luke giving him the advice, especially based on the fact Luke and Jessica basically were just a casual hookup at start, and Danny's was much more sort of solid relationship before it got to that point. I would have liked to see that. I like things developing naturally in stories, and my problem with the retcon is not only did it kind of feel like a kick at the time, but I just think there was too much fighting at the time against heroes being able to grow and develop. And whether they'd broken up later or not, decided that they weren't for each other, that's also an interesting thing that we don't see too much in comics. And I think if it had happened now, it wouldn't have happened the same way. And we would have maybe got a different sort of familial ties. And the reason I'm saying I don't know if they'd have stuck together is because, like, rereading some of the comics, like, all the things I loved about their relationship, it is very kind of thrown in. I still love it. I still think it's really important. I still think it's amazing that they had this, I still think there was a lot there to build on in a relationship, but also realized there was a lot of stresses as well. And I have no problem with, like, trying to hook them up with other people. But I think, yeah, having the kid and having that extra tie to Luke would have been just really nice. And that's what I would change.
All right.
Well, she just stole my thunder.
It's a biggie. To be honest, it's a huge thing in his continuity, and you did reference it before, so
Was yours the same, Karl? Or?
Yep.
All right. Well, did you want to choose another one, or?
The only other thing I would add is to stop killing his sisters.
Sister, but yeah.
Sisters,
over and over.
half sisters, all kinds of.
Yeah. Okay, well, mine is, aside from getting all of those little annoying continuity nitpicks scattered throughout all of Iron Fist history, my one is definitely just changing, his death and resurrection. In fact, just changing, so he doesn't die and get resurrected. And in fact, I'll just change, that whole run to have not, that whole portion of the run to have not happened. That is, the change I would make in Iron Fist history.
That's fair.
Yeah, and what was
God, none of us said give him the symbiote suit.
That would be cool, but, unfortunately.
It could still happen.
Could.
Yeah.
With all the funky stuff they're doing with the symbiotes right now, that could still be a possibility.
Oh,
Not too worried about it, though.
The other change I would make is Wolverine easily beating Danny in a sparring match in the Bendis New Avengers run. That still annoys me.
Yeah, that was... but Squirrel Girl kicked his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, Squirrel Girl.
With squirrels.
So let's... this is the last one we have. But, a good one. A favorite Iron Fist costume.
I'm really a fan of the new tracksuit, to be honest with you. I love the old standard from the get-go, but the tracksuit just makes sense nowadays.
Yep.
I think I agree.
Wow.
I think I didn't think I'd like it when I first saw it. And I really like a lot of his costumes over the years. But it does just make sense. And I quite like the sort of grey and yellow as a colour scheme.
Oh, and from the Heroes for Hire run, I did love the armor that appeared in one issue.
I would probably just go with the shirtless look, whether it's like green or grey pants, depending which costume he has. I guess I don't really care. But I like.
As long as it's not red or white.
Not red or white. But I really like the shirtless look with the mask on as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's like the coolest kind of martial artist look he has. And also kind of the most practical, minus the mask, I guess. But like, I really like that look for Danny. But I like, that's my favorite look. But I do like his new costume and his classic costume as well. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
As long as it's not the white and gold, because that looked too Power Ranger.
People like that. It's crazy.
You know what? I actually do like it. I think it's a stylish looking costume, but it's just not up there with my favourite.
It's a disco looking costume.
I think it's nice, but I quite like the Fear Itself one as well.
That one wasn't bad.
No, I quite like the white and every time I see, and aside from Moon Knight, better say that, I just think white's ridiculously impractical. So, it's not a colour I particularly like on Heroes, but I think it looks nice. It's just,
Stains
I think it's I think it's a pretty rubbish colour for a costume, but, at least it looks, Moon Knight doesn't tend to get, Moon Knight doesn't mind if he gets covered in blood, so, Moon Knight's not all there.
Deadpool in the movie when he's trying to pick out his costume.
Yeah, well, Deadpool. I don't really acknowledge Deadpool movies much.
I'm gonna add one question because this is a question. Considering it's Iron Fist, we have to have this question. What's your favorite fight that he's had? Because he's the martial arts character, so we gotta.
In the stadium in Immortal Iron Fist
against Fat Cobra.
Yes.
That's just, all I remember that fight is just Danny getting obliterated.
I like the entire tournament.
Yeah.
So,
that.
Yeah, possibly up to when he realizes the other guy's an Iron Fist. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole section. I don't know if I have a favorite fight in amongst them, but yeah.
What about you, Karl?
He did punch a hole through the robot Thor, right? Or is that somebody else?
I don't know. He punched a lot of holes and things.
He killed a Thor clone.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Yeah. That was more just, I think, Luke threw Danny at him and then Danny killed him. I guess mine would be, I really like the Sabretooth fight, the first one. I think that's a really good fight. His fight against that radiation monster or whatever in London was really good as well. Despite the weird design, it was just a really crazy, intense fight. The fight against Xiao Lao is obvious. He's had a lot of classic fights, but I'd say, those three. And I really liked when he fought all the zombie ninjas in Living Weapon at the start as well. And he blew up that helicopter. That was cool. Yeah. But he's had so many good fights, and pretty much every fight in Immortal Iron Fist is good as well. So
yeah, it's true.
And the Trial of the Seven Masters in the Ed Brisson run.
Oh yeah, and that was really good too.
All those fights.
Plague of Rat fight.
Yeah, Rat of 12 Plagues. I'll give that a special mention as well because that was disgusting and crazy. So yeah. All right, awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed us just chatting with ourselves because I thought this was fun. It was cool just to have an episode to talk about our favorite Iron Fist stuff because we haven't actually had an episode doing that in all this time.
Yeah. It was good. It was fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Show of tangents.
Yeah.
Well, they're all Iron Fist tangents though.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you guys know about our Iron Fist taste now, our favorite, least favorite, all that stuff. 100 episodes in, you finally know. Concrete answers. And we really hope you enjoyed the interview as well, the main event, so to speak. So if you have any feedback for any of this stuff, let us know. And thank you, Rebecca and Karl, for joining me on our 100th birthday.
And let's keep going for some more.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you guys. Thank Mr. Chapman again, and thank everyone else for listening. So we'll see you next time with more Contagion.
Yeah.
That's the
Take care,
Contagion
everyone.
catch-up. Possibly a mentioning of what actually went down in the Carnage thing, because since it's all being wrapped up next week in one issue, and there really hasn't been much Iron Fist in the previous ones.
All right, guys.
So give it a quick rundown for you guys. Take it easy.
Cool.
See you on 200.
See yous.
Later.
Iron Fist and all other characters in these comics are properties of Marvel and Disney. Any music or images we use belong to their respective copyright holders. We do this for fun, so please don't sue us. You can contact us at sonsofthedragonpodcast@gmail.com. Just send us mail, comments, thoughts, anything you want really. It doesn't even have to be related to Iron Fist. If you don't want it read on the air though, make sure you mention that. You can also find us on Facebook, the Immortal Iron Fist Podcast, Sons of the Dragon. Our Twitter, at Iron Fist Podcast. Our SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Sons of the Dragon. Hyphens where the spaces are. Our YouTube, Connor Karl. Just search Iron Fist Podcast and you'll find us real quick. We are also on iTunes. If you find us there, give us a review and rate us. If it's less than 5 stars, please say why so we can improve the show. And we're on Podcast Garden in the literature section. And last but not least, head over to our WordPress, Sons of the Dragon, the Immortal Iron Fist Podcast.wordpress.com. That's where I put all the show notes. I'd like to thank Thomas Tissot for composing the Iron Fist theme song we use at the start of our Iron Fist episodes on the podcast. I'd also like to thank Peter John Sikosky for composing the Power Man and Iron Fist theme we use at the start of our Power Man and Iron Fist episodes. And finally, thanks to you guys for listening.